Alexa, play the Fighting Irish Faithful podcast.
Playing Fighting Irish Faithful.
The holly green, the ivy green, the prettiest picture you've ever seen is Christmas in Killarney with all of the folks at home. It's nice, you know, to kiss your beau while cuddling under the mistletoe. And Santa Claus, you know, of course, is one of the boys from home.
You are listening to the Fighting Irish Faithful podcast, a podcast that is blocked in Cuba, Iran, North Korea, and Syria. Merry Christmas, everyone, and Notre Dame is playing for a Rose Bowl. Tonight we're going to break down Notre Dame versus Alabama. We're going to give a very realistic view of this game. We're going to probably break some people's hearts, but hey, you want tough reality, that's what you're going to get, because it's Christmas time and we're here to tell you that Santa Claus is also not real. Get ready for an up and down roller coaster ride tonight, but pour yourself a drink anyway. Let's go Irish.
Right, they're going to go for two. Back to throw. Walsh looks, has the time, lost the ball. The pass is batted down. It's batted down by Carroll.
Dawson throws, open receiver in the end zone. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Somehow, the Irish did it.
Out of the pack, 30, 35. Goodbye, baby. At the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. By rocket touchdown, Irish.
Zibikowski looking for a block. Cuts to the right to the 40. Gets a block. Gets to the 45, 50. Up to the 45, 40, 30. One man to beat. 20, 15, 10. He's done to the 5. Touchdown, Irish.
What is going on, Fighting Irish Faithful? I am back. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas. And it is still Christmas right now, but more to come on that. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Let's get the social media shameless plug here out of the way first. Twitter at faithful_Irish, YouTube channel Fighting Irish Faithful, Fighting Irish Faithful at gmail.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for joining me on Spotify, Alexa, iTunes, wherever you are finding me. And if you gave this podcast to someone as a Christmas present, kind of like a white elephant, hopefully I was stolen and not given away like, ah, man, really? But thank you for making me part of your game week preparations, your post-Christmas. If you're like me, I have this week off with work being shut down. So yeah, what a convenient time for me to get ill. But anyway, from the intro, yes, this podcast, at least the last episode, was blocked in those 4 fine countries. I won't use the word that I really want to use to describe them because that would not be PC. But anyway, yes, I think it might be ZZ Top is blocked in Cuba, Iran, North Korea, and Syria. Something about people getting paid. I guess that doesn't jive over in those nations. But anyway, who knows? The podcast was blocked over there, and that is the most patriotic American thing I could possibly think of. I wear that as a badge of honor. Maybe that should be like a t-shirt I wear. I am blocked in Cuba, Iran, North Korea, and Syria with a big giant American flag and an eagle. And all right, let's move on. No, it's not cold medicine. Tonight, instead of a scotch, well, I guess we're having scotch. I'm a little under the weather here, but so we just got a hot toddy going on, some lemon, some hot water, some honey, and yes, we put in a shot of scotch. So kind of a little bit of grandpa's cough medicine here to help pull through this, but we are on the up and up. Last week, I was actually a lot more ill than I am for this podcast, so my voice is nice and low. Not quite Barry White low, but still low enough to impress the doc. But anyway, Notre Dame is playing for a Rose Bowl. Notre Dame, of course, makes the playoffs, and this January 1st, Notre Dame, Alabama, number 1 versus number 4. Sidebar pop quiz for all of you people. When was the last time Notre Dame played in a Rose Bowl? That would be January 1st, 1925, Notre Dame versus Stanford. It is also Notre Dame's first title win for the 1924 season. So Notre Dame has not been in a Rose Bowl since then. With COVID and all of that stuff going on, and the governor of California and the city of Pasadena doing whatever they feel is right, I highly, highly disagree with their decisions. But the beautiful state of Texas, the Blue Bonnet State, maybe we're going to call it the Blue Bonnet Bowl, since that is the state flower of Texas rather than the Rose Bowl. And no, the rose is not the state flower of California. I'll let you guys do that Wikipedia research. But anyway, I don't know if it's actually going to be called the Rose Bowl, unless the College Football Playoff Committee buys a license from the city of Pasadena or something. Who knows? But it's probably going to be, at the end of the day, the Camellia Bowl. But anyway, it's Christmas still. And yet, I don't want to hear anyone criticizing me about that, because Christmas runs through January 9th. Get out your liturgical calendar, everybody. Christmas does not end on December 26th, all right? We're still going. Christmas lights are still up, right? The manger, Jesus was just born, right? I don't even think the wise men have showed up yet, all right? They're still following the star, all right? The alignment of Saturn and Jupiter and all of that. They're still traveling across the Arabian desert right now, still on their way to Bethlehem. So Jesus is still in the manger with cows and, all of that stuff around him. Because it's Christmas, and Notre Dame in their bowl game, of course, will have their names on their jerseys, which I'm a huge fan. I don't know why they don't do that all year, and don't give me this crap of, oh, well, it's one team and not just the name on the jersey. Really, who cares? Honestly, if that's really why you think Notre Dame is going to lose, get over yourself. But anyway, in addition to names on the back of the jerseys, and Alabama, I think, is the home team, so they'll be in their crimson, red, glorious Alabama jerseys. Notre Dame should wear green, and not just because of the green jersey, flair. I mean, yeah, I like the green jerseys. I wear a green shirt when I always watch Notre Dame. That's just me. But the green jersey, in contrast with the Alabama red, would be very Christmassy. It might be a little bit of a clash for your eyes out there, but it would look sick. It'd look really, really awesome. That's just my opinion. They're probably going to be in the white, but you know what? I really hope that they're going to have the green jersey. If you can't tell, I'm a little more sarcastic tonight. It's because it is very, very difficult for me to be positive about this game. I've done the research as I usually do. It ain't pretty, everybody. And part of me was even thinking, rather than put in a nice Irishy Christmas song, I was thinking of playing something like Limp Bizkit or the Beastie Boys to just go into my misery and slight rage mode here as I get into the Notre Dame versus Alabama stats. Held off on that because I think that's a little touch much, and though Notre Dame is an important part of my life, it is adequately compartmentalized, and Christmas is more important, and the spirit of what we're doing here on this podcast extends beyond this one little pot that is about to boil over with pure, honest truth. Notre Dame, of course, 11-2. Alabama, 11-2. Last year, Alabama won the Citrus Bowl, and Notre Dame, of course, won the Cheez-It Bowl. I don't even know what bowl that was. All I know is they beat the crap out of Iowa State, as they rightfully should have. This season, of course, Alabama is undefeated at 11-0. They just won the SEC. Notre Dame did not win the ACC. Wah, wah, wah. And Notre Dame is ranked 4 in the playoffs. Alabama number 1. Versus Power 5 teams this year. Notre Dame 9-1. Alabama 11-0. The 4-year recruiting. This is where it's going to start to get and break down. Notre Dame averages, as I have said all season, they average a ranking of 13.25, whereas Alabama Nick Saban, they are 2.25. Alabama has a strength of schedule of 6 versus Notre Dame's 54. And this is where it starts to get really ugly. Alabama is number 1 in total touchdowns. They are number 2 in scoring offense. They're number 12 in rushing defense. And they're number 1 in rushing touchdowns with 35. Contrast to Notre Dame's 12, 22, 15, and 4. Yes, Notre Dame is up there with rushing touchdowns, but the drop-off is huge, and we'll go into more about that later. Now, Notre Dame does have the advantage on third down defense and scoring defense. They're 6th and 14th, respectively, versus Alabama's 72nd in third down defense and 20th in scoring defense. But they're the number 5th total offensive team in the country, and they're ranked 24th in sacks per game. They're 3rd in passing touchdowns, 4th in turnover margin, and number 1 in third down percentage. Notre Dame is not even close to them on any of those categories. So the biggest things are Alabama's offense. They have a very high-powered offense, and the numbers support it. The most important 4 stats: total touchdowns, scoring offense, rushing defense, and rushing touchdowns. Alabama is smoking Notre Dame in those categories, except for maybe rushing defense. But still, they average a better rushing defense than Notre Dame does. So it's going to be very hard for Notre Dame to overcome Alabama in this football game, based on the numbers I just showed you. Alabama is extremely good in the red zone. They rank 8th in red zone touchdowns and 11th in red zone overall scoring. Their red zone touchdown percentage is 76% versus Notre Dame's 59%, and red zone scoring 92% versus Notre Dame's 79%. Another way to look at this is just look at field goal kicking. Jonathan Doerr has attempted 22 field goals. Now, Grant, not all of those are in the red zone, but still 22 field goals, and he's made 68% of them. Okay. It's not great. It ain't Justin Ewing great, but, it's not trash either. But contrast 22 field goal attempts to Will Reichert of Alabama. He is 12 for 12. He is 100%, but 12 attempts versus 22 attempts. That just shows a level of efficiency of one offense versus the other. Think about that for a couple of seconds. And then last but not least, yards per point, the stat I always talk about, the efficiency. Alabama is 10.94. They are fantastic in overall offensive efficiency, yards per point. Notre Dame, 12.93. It is no surprise that Team Rankings is giving Notre Dame only about a 10% chance of winning, and the spread, as you've all been hearing on the news and reading in the articles from ND Nation and all the other guys, all the other blogs like One Foot Down, the spread is 20 points, all right? Almost 3 touchdowns. It is very, very difficult. And I think what's happening here is there's this overall mood, overall opinion, not so much of how great Alabama is, but just the disappointment and the expectation that Notre Dame is not going to rise to the occasion. The odds are extremely great, and for Notre Dame as a team to overcome Alabama as a team is going to be very, very difficult. Before we get into individual contributions by Alabama this season and Notre Dame and comparing the individual players, let's look at Alabama's opponents versus Notre Dame's opponents. On average, Alabama's opponents are scoring 19.5 points per game in the SEC. They've played 0 non-SEC games at all. Every single game Alabama's played has been an SEC opponent. Now, granted, you've got some Mississippi States, you've got a Tennessee and a Missouri that have snuck in there, but regardless, those teams on average are scoring 19.5 points. Notre Dame's opponents are scoring 18.6 points per game. So on the surface, it sounds like, hey, their defense is not as great. But the problem is the scoring disparity, all right? Alabama is scoring 49.7 points versus their opponents 19.5. So there's over, 30 points? Alabama is going to blow Notre Dame out of the water because Notre Dame's scoring margin is less than 17 over their ACC schedule, plus that one cupcake team down in Florida they played. So the combined record as well of Notre Dame's opponents is 54 wins and 62 losses. It's less than 50%, 0.46%. Versus Alabama's all SEC schedule has a combined record of 61 and 57, 0.517. So not only is the competition higher and winning more, but Notre Dame's scoring margin over them far exceeds Notre Dame's. So another advantage to Alabama. All right. Individual contribution for Alabama. Alabama has very, very good players. And there are two of them, not including their quarterback, Mac Jones, but their leading rusher and their leading receiver have put up very, very impressive numbers. Let's go through those right now. First, rushing. Najee Harris for Alabama. Get used to hearing that name. Get used to seeing this guy. He's fantastic. He has put up 1,262 yards in 11 games on 214 attempts for 24 touchdowns. 24. To put that in perspective, in 2012, when Notre Dame played Alabama versus Eddie Lacy, for the whole season, Eddie Lacy had only 17 touchdowns. Now, it's not as much as Derrick Henry, but over the next two games, Najee Harris could definitely probably surpass or meet Derrick Henry's level of 28 touchdowns. Najee Harris, though, on average, attempts a rush almost 20 times a game, 19.5 on average, and scores a touchdown 2.2 times. Put it another way, he gets about 5.9 yards per touch, or scores a touchdown every 52 yards he runs it, or every 9 times he touches the ball. 9 times he scores a touchdown. Are you serious? Compare that to Kyren Williams. Now, Kyren Williams is great. Love the guy. He has over 1,000 yards, but he only has 12 touchdowns. He's got about 1 a game, but it's literally half of what Najee Harris has put in the end zone. All right. Also, the amount of attempts required by Kyren Williams to score a touchdown versus Najee Harris is double. He has scored a touchdown every 16.3 times he's touched the ball versus Najee Harris's 8.9. And he has to go 88 yards every time he scores a touchdown. Now, I also wanted to compare these two guys to two other running backs for Notre Dame of recent years, namely Dexter Williams from 2018 and Josh Adams from 2017. Josh Adams had 1,400 yards, Dexter Williams just under 1,000. But Dexter Williams scored 1.3 touchdowns per game and scored a touchdown every 13.2 touches, whereas Josh Adams, every 22 touches, he scored a touchdown. And it took Josh Adams 158 yards to score every touchdown on average versus Dexter Williams 82.9. So Kyren Williams is in some categories better than Josh Adams as far as efficiency, but he's not better than Dexter Williams. And Dexter Williams is not nearly as good as Najee Harris. And in some ways, Najee Harris is better than Derrick Henry and Eddie Lacy. So chew on that. This guy needs to be contained. He better have a spy on him. We better have someone from the end rushing so he doesn't get outside, and then an inside linebacker like a Drew White or something spying him and just staying on his ass. All right. Otherwise, he's going to smoke us down the field, and we're going to be wondering what happened. Next, receiving. Devonta Smith, a Heisman Trophy candidate, is playing very, very good this season. He has 17 touchdowns for 1,511 yards. He gets, on average, 8.9 receptions per game. That's not how many times he's targeted. That's actual catches for yardage, all right? And he's only gotten, and he has 98 receptions on the year, so he gets about, on average, 15.9 yards per catch and scores a touchdown every 5.8 touches. That's crazy. And scores a touchdown every 88.9 yards. To put this another way, let's compare Devonta Smith to the entire Notre Dame receiving core. All right. Notre Dame's best 3 receivers are Ben Skoranek, Javon McKinley, and Michael Mayer, in my opinion. Those 3 men combined, though, have only 10 touchdowns. Devonta Smith, Alabama's leading receiver, has 17. It's almost double what those guys have. And let's not even talk about yards, all right? Yards combined for those 3 guys, it doesn't even touch Devonta Smith's production for the year. Now, one thing that is interesting is Ben Skoranek, the numbers are actually very good. He has 15.9 yards per catch versus Devonta Smith's 15.4, and he scores a touchdown every 5 catches compared to Devonta Smith's 5.8, and it has only taken him 79.6 yards to score a touchdown. So technically, the math says that Ben Skoranek is the most efficient receiver Notre Dame has. Between him, Javon McKinley, and Mayer, Ian Book needs to target those 3 guys, and we need to find the holes. Just read the defense and just throw it, all right? Make the receiver go to the open spot, and that's it. No sacks, none of that crap. I also wanted to compare Devonta Smith to 2 other very good Notre Dame wide receivers, namely Chase Claypool from last year and Jeff Samardzija from 2005. Those 2 men had 66 and 77 receptions, respectively, and 13 and 15 touchdowns, and over 1,000 yards for Chase Claypool and over 1,200 yards for Jeff Samardzija. Regardless, unfortunately, those productive numbers are still under Devonta Smith, and most likely he has 2 more games remaining. So this guy is very, very good. And unfortunately, Chase Claypool and Jeff Samardzija numbers don't even come close to what Devonta Smith is doing. The closest is Jeff Samardzija, but he's 2 touchdowns off now and about 250 yards off as well. So, and that was with, a really good quarterback. Finally, quarterback, Mac Jones versus Ian Book. We really shouldn't even be comparing these 2 guys, all right? Mac Jones has more completions. He has slightly more attempts, but he's thrown for 32 total touchdowns. Ian Book has thrown a total of 15 touchdowns. He's still 2 away from Devonta Smith's overall numbers for the year. Mac Jones has a completion percentage of 76% versus Ian Book's 64%. He throws a touchdown every 15 completions, and his touchdown to attempt percentage is 9.8, right? Versus Ian Book's 4.8. He's sacked less than 2 times a game. He's been sacked less times than Ian Book. And his touchdown to interception ratio is better. It's 8 versus 7.5. And he throws about 2.9 touchdowns per game versus Ian Book's 1.4. So really, the only way that Ian Book can outmaneuver Mac Jones is by throwing to the open space in the field and praying that his receivers are there, that we stay good on down and distance, and we don't ask too much of Ian Book. Mac Jones is not a rusher. He's not a scrambler. He just sits in the pocket. When it's not there, he probably just throws it away. But most likely, his guys are wide open because he's got Devonta Smith. So when you put all this together, what's going to happen, Notre Dame fans? We're going to lose this game. It's not going to happen. I know people don't want to hear that, and that's not me being negative. This is me being realistic. I am a realistic person, and I am going to be the realist, most evidence-based podcaster out there, all right? I will call it exactly how it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to bullshit it. And if you guys are out there, snorting pixie dust, rainbows, and unicorns, I'm going to tell you that you're full of shit, because you can't argue with math, and you can't argue with data unless you are a stupid fool, all right? This is not going to be pretty unless Notre Dame does a few things to overcome the pain that is awaiting for us, all right? Look, you don't like this, go ahead and turn it off, all right? But you're going to be setting yourself up for disappointment, all right? I'm not here to piss in everybody's Cheerios, all right? But this is fact. This is reality. The numbers that I've just described to you clearly illustrate there is a better team with better players, all right? We can try to fool ourselves and sing the fight song and all this other, bullshit left and right. At the end of the day, they have a better coach with a better winning percentage than we do that has a track record of success in big games. That's what it comes down to. Brian Kelly, over the last 4 years, has done very well. Since the shit show that was 2016, he has certainly turned things around. 2017 to the present has been much better. In that time, he's 43 wins and 7 losses with a .860 win percentage. That's really good. But he has a loss in the Cotton Bowl and a loss in the ACC game and a couple of other very embarrassed losses, okay? So that doesn't make me feel better to think about some of those losses, and specifically 4 of them, suck, quite frankly. These are not close losses. Let's compare him to Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney in that same time, since the beginning of 2017 season, is 51-4 with a .927 win percentage, a loss in a Sugar Bowl, beating us in the Cotton Bowl, a frickin' title, and 4 conference titles, a win in the Fiesta Bowl last year, and then also losing in the national championship game. All right, compare that also to Nick Saban. Since 2017 is 49-4 with a .925 win percentage. All right, both of these guys are about 93% win percentage versus Kelly's 86. All right, Nick Saban has won a Sugar Bowl, won a title, won an Orange Bowl, lost another title, and 2 SEC championships. What more do you want? All right, compare these to these 2 coaches and their track record over the last 4 years. Brian Kelly's best 4 years is still way better than Kelly, all right? So let's not pretend that Kelly's going to pull out some magic elixir at this point, because the evidence and the historical trends that we're seeing from Kelly do not show that. Second and biggest rant of the night. All you Brian Kelly homers out there, you need to stop giving him praise, all right, and comparing him in a very unrealistic manner. Brian Kelly has 102 wins in all 11 seasons for a .729 win percentage. But what's pissing me off is I'm seeing people on Twitter and hearing other people podcast, and they're talking about Kelly being the greatest winning coach of all time at Notre Dame. He probably, most likely, will have more wins associated with his name as the head coach at Notre Dame, more wins than Knute Rockne, who has 105. But he has 0 titles and 0 New Year's Six wins and nothing worth of note. But these jokers out there are saying that Kelly is going to be the greatest, winningest coach at Notre Dame. Are you insane? Are you smoking crack? I am insulted to hear that. He has a .729 win percentage, 0 titles, and 0 New Year's Six wins. Let's rewind. Charlie Weiss is fired. We hire BK, a guy who just went and took his team to the Orange Bowl. Let's not talk that they got their shit pushed in by Florida that year, but it doesn't matter. Kelly comes to Notre Dame. We all thought, hey, this is the guy, and I thought so too. But in 11 seasons, he doesn't win us 1 New Year's Six Bowl? 1? Are you serious? Title, all right, that's always the goal. But not even a New Year's Six Bowl. Come on! A .729 win percentage. Compare that to another coach who had 11 seasons. Lou Holtz went 130 and 2 ties for a .756 win percentage. 5 New Year's Six wins and 1 title. How about Ara Parsegian? 11 seasons, 95 wins, 17 losses, 4 ties for a .819 win percentage. 3 New Year's Sixes and 2 frickin' titles. Frank Leahy, 11 seasons, 87, 11, and 9. A .813 win percentage. 1 New Year's Six win, and 5 frickin' titles. Knute Rockne, 105 wins in 13 seasons. Granted, these old years, they're only played like 9, 10, 11 games a year, all right? Versus Kelly is getting like 12, 13, all right? Most of the time it's 13, especially in the good years, all right? Knute Rockne, 105 wins, a .86% win percentage, 1 New Year's Six win, our only Rose Bowl, and 3 frickin' titles, all right? Oh, and just to rub salt in the wound, let's compare him to Dan Devine. In 6 seasons, Dan Devine went 53, 16, and 1 for a .757 win percentage, higher than Kelly, 2 New Year's Six wins, and a frickin' title. So don't tell me that Brian Kelly is this great winning coach. He has not even sniffed Dan Devine levels of performance. Chew on that, you dumbasses. So let's come back down, all right? Can we just hope for the best with this game, all right? Can we just pray that Notre Dame is not going to embarrass themselves on national television again, that we don't have to walk to work at the beginning of the year with our tail between our legs, all right? I have Notre Dame pride, but at the same time, like, when is enough going to be enough? Are we ever going to win a New Year's Six again? The last time we won was in 1994. I mean, come on. Can we at least just cover the spread? All right, let's only lose by 14 points. Is that too much to ask? Maybe I'm being defeatist, but I am also going to embrace reality this time around. Let's root for Clemson. Let's root for Clemson to beat the crap out of Ohio State. Can Notre Dame lose by less points to Alabama than Ohio State is going to lose to Clemson? Because I definitely think that's going to happen. I didn't do an analysis of Clemson versus Ohio State because I'm not a fan of either team. But when I looked at the numbers high level last week, Ohio State didn't even belong in the playoffs when you compare to at least the other 3 teams. All right, the drop-off was huge from Alabama and Clemson. Then Notre Dame, and then there was probably like Texas A&M or something. But anyway, Notre Dame's lost to Alabama. I really hope that it's less of an ass kicking than the ass kicking that Ohio State is going to get to Clemson. Please, come on, Tigers, beat up on the Buckeyes. Let's do it. Because Clemson and Alabama are on paper the 2 best teams, and they're high above and away better than everybody else. And is it just because Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban are just so great? They have 93% win percentages, and they go to the playoffs and win their conference, and they win at least 1 New Year's Six Bowl almost every year. Did Notre Dame just hire Brian Kelly at the worst possible time when you have 2 of the best coaches ever in the modern era that year after year after year just win? I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, Joe Paterno and Bobby Bowden didn't even have this great of success year after year after year. It's almost annoying and stupid as things go on. But by the time that Saban and Dabo Swinney retire and they're gone and they're sitting on a pile of cash on some beach in Florida, Brian Kelly will also probably be gone from Notre Dame too. So can we just be happy? Can we just be happy that Notre Dame is in the playoffs? Can we just be happy that Notre Dame has one more opportunity to play this year? Just embrace this. I'm embracing this already as a loss, okay? I'm not going to be duped. I'm not going to be fooled. In 2012, my innocence was lost. I remember that night very well, being very pumped up, thinking we were going to win just because it was like this manifest destiny season. I love the 2012 season. I get great, warm feelings in my heart when I think about that season prior to the BCS championship game down in Hard Rock Stadium, right, where Notre Dame got their ass kicked on national television. My innocence was lost. I remember that pain very well, and I think you should too, Notre Dame fan. Also, 2017, the Miami game. That game soul crushed me. Duped again. And then in 2018, when we made the playoffs for year 2 of Brian Kelly 2.0, I was very distraught after that game too, that yet again, we had not showed up. We had lost by over 20 points. It was ridiculous. 2020, no way, Jose. It's not going to happen. I am not going to be fooled, and I've already mentally prepared, and I've also actually looked at data, facts, and numbers of how teams that win the title perform. What is Alabama doing? What is Notre Dame doing? The numbers are not even close for Notre Dame, all right? If Notre Dame can maybe make it close, all right, and lose by maybe 14 points, I'll consider that successful, all right? But it's not going to happen, all right? Get prepared for some pain, all right? But you know what? You don't have to not watch the game. You don't have to just plug in this podcast right before the game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy watching football. Enjoy another game watching your Fighting Irish. That's what I'm going to do, all right? I'm still going to watch the game. I'm still going to enjoy it. I'm going to wear green. I'm going to drink beer out of a bottle with my Notre Dame koozie. I'm going to make nachos. I'm going to do all that routine shit that I do for every game. Because why? Because this is adequately compartmentalized as a form of entertainment, enjoying a hobby that I thoroughly enjoy. I would enjoy it more if Notre Dame won, all right? But I'm going to enjoy being on Twitter with all of you. I'm going to enjoy, and maybe we'll do a post-game show, regardless if we win or lose. I don't know yet. We'll have to see how we're feeling that night. But the toast this week's is going to go out to the Notre Dame Twitterati, the people on Twitter that I interact with. Those of you that are following the show, or maybe some of you have just dropped me because you didn't like the truth I was just giving you. But you know what? Let's prepare for that future Joy Slot party that we're going to have. I think we already have a nurse. We've got, I think, an anesthesiologist. We've got someone that's in the Catholic Diocese of Chicago. We've got, I'm sure, some lawyers and doctors, some very successful business people. You got some amateur podcasts. There's all sorts of people that I interact with on Twitter. And one day, when all this COVID bullshit is over, we will come to for real in the Joyce parking lot, and we're all going to enjoy. But for now, right now, here we are at home watching the games with our families. And you know what? That's okay, because we have Twitter and we could still interact with each other during, before, and after the game on Twitter. So to the Notre Dame Twitterati, cheers to you guys. Now, Notre Dame can win this game, but 3 things need to happen. Number 1 is a freaking miracle, all right? But 2, Notre Dame needs to come up with the most gangster game plan out there. I'm talking Notre Dame versus LSU, Music City Bowl, put Malik Zaire in, run triple option, a wing T, wishbone, double tight end kind of crap, all right? We have to throw something at Alabama they've never seen, and our offense has to be clicking like no other. Book plays the game of his life. Skoranek and McKinley each have like 2 touchdowns, and Chris Tyree just has a blowout game. Him and Kyron Williams, they're just all over the field. Alabama's defense is weak, so the only way that happens is if our offense is clicking. I don't see that happening, because the last time it kind of happened was the Clemson game, and we keep stepping on our own shoes, and there's lots of film out there for Alabama to shut us down. So the only way Notre Dame can overcome that is by throwing something completely different at Alabama they haven't seen before and they haven't prepared before. Next, Alabama needs to suck. Alabama needs to be full of themselves. They need to make stupid mistakes. They need to fumble the ball. They need to just not be, reading the holes correctly when they're running or passing or whatever. And Alabama just needs to play bad. So 2 things need to happen. Alabama has to play bad, and Notre Dame has to play really good. I think even then, we're going to need a miracle from heaven for Notre Dame to win. Now, one other thing, Notre Dame fan, the game is on January 1st, which is the Solemnity of Mary, the Holy Mother of God. Notre Dame, our mother, this is the time for it to be a holy day of obligation. Everyone, you better go to church. It's a holy day of obligation. On that feast day, that Solemnity of our mother, Our Lady, all right, Golden Dome, Golden Blue, all of that, all right, it is possible for Notre Dame to win. Though the odds are extremely great, I don't know if Notre Dame can win overall, but it is possible. Very remote. It's also possible I win Powerball tomorrow too, but hey, anything can happen. If you don't play, you don't win, right? That's how the saying goes. So my attitude during this game is going to be that I'm watching my Irish play. I'm going to be watching it metaphorically in a pub with my friends on Twitter, and I'm just going to enjoy this Notre Dame's last game of this season. I've mentally prepared this. I've looked at facts. I've looked at data. This is what is going to happen. It's extremely, extremely remote and unlikely that Notre Dame plays for a title against Clemson or something, which would be freaking crazy, playing Clemson 3 times in one season. Barf. And gosh, can you imagine Dabo Swinney? Oh gosh, shoot me now. Maybe I'd rather lose to Alabama than have to watch Dabo Swinney whine on the sidelines again. Who knows? Everyone, Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening to me. Enjoy watching the game, all right? Don't be depressed by all the data and facts and numbers. Enjoy the game and cheer for your Irish, and then start off 2021 baptized in reality, and good luck on all your New Year's resolutions coming up. See y'all on Twitter. Go Irish, beat Tide.